Hi, everybody.
Hello there.
I'm Jerry.
And I'm Linda.
We're the Village's Newcomers. We just finished one of the neatest shows we've ever done. Ruth here and her wonderful sister Frances had us come to Ruth's home, and we did a show with them telling stories. And man, you guys have some stories. But I want to ask you a couple of questions real quick.
Yeah.
When you were younger, now you know Linda's an identical twin too.
Yeah.
Did you ever fool the boys?
Oh, yeah.
We did.
We did.
And we would take others' dates. If we had one we didn't care for and they didn't have one, we'd get them to take our first one so we could take the second one.
But mostly we would date, two guys would call and they'd say, this is Charlie. Me and George want to know if y'all want to go to the show. It was just two guys calling. And we'd say, and of course we'd go and one of them was always cuter than the other one. So we just switch on them and share the cute one all evening.
They never knew.
Well, the stories were absolutely fantastic. We're going to share them right now.
You know, what you're about to hear, every story is absolutely true. You can't make this stuff up, and it's just been years of laughs and good times. We hope that you feel that they're as funny as we do. Well, these ladies certainly look great, don't they? I mean, can you believe? I mean, that shows you what a lot of Clairol and some soft lighting will do. And this is my Aunt Frances on the end, in case anybody doesn't know. My mom, Ruth Mosier.
I'm going to tell about how people not expecting two of us are so surprised. And we went to Walmart early in the morning before anybody was there. And I got out, Frances went to park, and there was a little old lady greeting in there, and my friends all thought it was funny that I describe anybody else as a little old lady. But she says to me, "Can I help you?" And I said, "I'm looking for the large leaf trash bags." She said, "Well, down on 17, and then over that way, you'll find it." "All right, thank you." I go off. Frances comes in, same lady there, and she says to Frances, "Can I help you?" And Frances says, "I'm looking for the large leaf trash bags." The woman looked at her and she said, "Oh God, honey, I'll just take you down there."
Well, this happened on a trip. We were honored at a big party in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And then when it was over, we were driving back. The theme at the party was a Mexican music and Mexican food and everything. And they gave each one of us a cute little sombrero to wear. And my husband was a football coach. He didn't think too much of a sombrero, but this is important. Anyway, we drive a while, and then I see 3 patrol cars. This was the Texas Highway Patrol, and they're coming toward me. I'm driving, Jake's asleep in the back, and I'm driving. And the first cop gets down there, and I see him turn around. I see the other one turn around, and when the third one turns around, I am panicking. I am just terrified because somehow I just am scared of policemen. But anyway, so I drive on, and I remember there's a little hamburger joint over here on the right, and the restroom, ladies' restroom, is in the back of the building, so I'm just going to wheel in there. Well, when I wheeled in there at the speed I was going, Jake woke up and said, "What is going on?" And, you know, he nearly fell out of the back seat just because of that turn. And I said, "They're after us, they're after us." And he said, "Who?" I said, the cops. I mean, I'm just scared to pieces. And so I get in this restroom just as soon as I stop the car. I don't care if he's mad or not. I'm in that restroom, and I have that door locked. But anyway, they're going to have to find me first. And I'm worried. And so, not very long, here's this bam, bam, bam on the door. It sounds louder maybe than it was, but I can just visualize these 2 policemen with guns drawn come out. You're in trouble, woman. And so I unlocked it just to see who it was, and it wasn't the policeman. It was 2 ladies wanting to use this restroom. So I got out, and Jake decided to order food. So he went on inside, and I couldn't have eaten a thing. I kept parading up and down in front of the windows to see if they had gotten there and stopped, and no such thing. But this was a little town. It only had one road through it. You could not hide. And so we drove along, and I was still just couldn't breathe. And then I looked out, and these 3 patrol cars were in front of the steakhouse. So they obviously were never after me, but I took it hard. But anyway, cars, I don't drive anymore because I don't like the other drivers that don't know where I'm going.
One time we got to take a trip overseas together. We went to Spain, and we had a great time just being the 2 of us. We hadn't done anything in years. And so I got my degree in Spanish. Now, that didn't mean anything. I could understand a lot I heard, but I couldn't say a word. We were walking up this road with, and all the little restaurants had chairs out, and everybody sitting on the sidewalk and having their coffee and everything. And I noticed 2 women further down there, and they were looking at us, but not friendly. And so one of them said to the other, "Look at that." In Spanish, she says, "Those Americans, they all look alike." We were staying in what was supposed to be a 5-star hotel. I think it's a Motel 6, actually. There was a terrible arrangement in the bathroom. They added a bathroom in there, and they had to put a box on the floor and then put the commode up on that box. Well, Frances and I were at a function in the basement, and she decided to leave and go up to the room for a quick stop. And she didn't come back. So I decided I'd go up there and find her. Well, I unlocked the door and go in there, and she is upside down in the bathtub. Now, those European bathtubs, you know how tall they are and skinny? And her feet are straight up in the air with her hose round around her ankles. The shower curtain is round around her. She had stepped off of that without remembering that step and reached for the shower curtain. She went around and around and ended up in the bottom of that tub upside down. She could no more get out of that than anything. I tell you that I could hardly help her for laughing. It was too great. I was building a new house, and I wanted this big king bed, the right height for my husband. He was in a wheelchair, and I wanted it just right. So I hired a guy, he was an English fella, to build this bed. And he was just so hard to get a hold of and so slow. I just drove me crazy. I kept trying to get a hold of him. So I said, one day I just called and had to leave a message. And I said, "Al Davis, this is Ruth Mosher. I've got to get together with you on that bed." My husband was listening, and he said, "You left a message. There's no way to erase it. I don't think you have a clue what you said."
I am asleep in bed, and I sleep on the right, he's over here on the left, and I had this arm that just kind of fell out there, off of the mattress into the air, and after a while the thing goes to sleep, and it just doesn't have any feeling. I don't know it's mine, and then all of a sudden it just slaps and lands on my neck. Well, you think somebody woke up real quick? It hadn't started to squeeze yet. So I just pinched the blood out of Jake and said, "Wake up, we're in trouble." I have dreams, and I told him one dream was that I heard somebody mowing. And he said, "Let him mow," and went on back to sleep. We play golf, and I was playing with 4 ladies, and we were having to wait on every hole. And so when one lady said to me, "Well, look at that. 2 young men just went on this green in front of us." And we'd been waiting anyway. So I said, "I'll take care of that." And I had a cell phone for the first time, and it was as big as a brick and as heavy. But I called the pro shop, and I described everything, and he said, "I'll take care of it." So out he comes, and he meets me at two holes away and says, "Well, we got them." And I said, "What'd you do with them?" He said, "We took them to jail." I said, "Jail? Really?" He said, "Not really." We took them to another course, but we enjoyed the idea that they might be, We thought you would enjoy it because one of these men was your husband. So I couldn't play another bit of golf that day. I was laughing all afternoon.
My mom and dad went to a Chamber of Commerce program in Amarillo where we were growing up. And they happened to be seated at the head table, and the honorary guest was a now deceased country western star by the name of Mel Tillis, who you might remember was a stutterer. But when he sang, he didn't stutter. So Mom went to the bank, and some woman came up to her afterwards, and she said, "I am so jealous that you got to sit next to Mel Tillis." And Mom said, "Who is Mel Phillips?"
My mom and Frances, they travel a lot. You know, they used to travel at airports all the time. And you know how congenial my mom is. She's very outgoing and everything. And she saw somebody come off a plane, and she goes, "Oh, I know him. And she went up to him and said, "Hi, how are you?" and gave him a big hug. And then as she walked away, she realized it was Lee Trevino. Oh, but I forgot to say that he hit her back. Yeah, he was. He's like, "Okay, good to see you too." I left that part out. Sorry. Frances and Jake, they actually managed a golf course just south of Houston called Lake Tanglewood, and so one time she was too trusting of me, and I teed off with a 6-iron or something, and man, I just drilled her right there. And so it was the first time I ever saw a woman with 3 boobs. It just swelled up on her there. And so at this same golf course, it was a very a beautiful day. There were a lot of people on the course. My parents were both golfing there, and there they didn't have golf carts, driving carts. They had the old, pull the cart behind you kind of carts, And so, like I say, there are a lot of people out there, and there's no wind barriers, there's no trees or anything. And my dad was traveling ahead of my mom. My dad was traveling ahead of my Aunt Frances, and she noticed something that was awry. And she said, "Lon, you're unzipped and your balls are falling out."
Of the bag.
Yeah, you get it. Yeah. So she lived in Bentwater, just north of Houston, before she moved here, and she was always bragging on how nice it was because they have mild winters down there. And she called and said, "Oh, it was such a beautiful day here." She said we were actually we played with no shirts. Which she meant to say no jackets. Right. Got to spoil that one.
That's good. No, that's awesome. All right.
And Phil said, "Really?
Really? No shirts?" Kind of glad I missed that.
Probably unlike you, none of you had a mom that embarrassed you in front of other people, but I'm at the church parking lot, and about 9th grade, and we're in front of a bunch of people, including a girl that I kind of liked, and my mom turns to me all of a sudden and goes, "Doug, do you shave yet?" I was like, "Geez, I think I had like 1 whisker." And I probably had less whiskers than my grandmother did. I was so embarrassed. And I said, I couldn't think of what to say, so I just said, "Yes, but only under my arms." About a week later, we're in the same situation, and she says, "So we would have been on time today, but we couldn't get Doug's hair dry." Was it like a family event or something? My dad thought you were a wiener if you owned a blow dryer. So I hang my head out the car window on the way, and I'd get there and look like Don King or something, So I think one of the things I thought was sort of funny at the time. I'm playing JV football. Did I mention this already? So. Ruth is there, and I say JV, but the only reason it's important is that the fans would actually be right up on the sidelines and not in the stands. And so at one point in the game, one of my opponents ran his arm all the way up between my legs and I was just on the ground, and I crawled over to the sidelines, and all of a sudden, Ruth is there. I thought she was going to come, check on me, see if I was okay, and she goes, will you be able to get back in pretty soon? This is the only game Frances can see you play. I'm sitting there wondering whether I could have children or not, and she's letting me know that, you got to get back in there. So I was like, that's all for today, boys and girls. But another thing, Frances, one of her funny lines I like, she says to Ruth, I've got to find my slipper. I'm down to one. I'm picturing somebody with like 3 legs or something. I don't know, anyone?
I was awakened very early one morning. The doorbell rang. And I ran to the door, and of course I had on pajamas and a robe and the scariest hair you've ever seen. And I thought it was Frances coming to play tennis, and I forgot to get up. But anyway, I opened the door, and it's a lady and her grown children. She says, I'd like to show my kids your swimming pool. And I said, great, well, come on through while I'll get ready. And so she said, oh, no, we'll walk around. So they started around the house. About that time, Frances pulls up in her cart. She's all ready to play. She's got this real cute outfit on. Her hair's done, and then makeup and everything. Rats on her. So anyway, I says to her, go out there and meet my neighbors that might buy my house. So she ran to the back door, and when she walked out, she says, well, good morning. And the lady looked at her and she said, how did you do that? And Frances said, what? The woman told that story all over the place, and she couldn't believe it. She just couldn't believe it. It was funny. This is by request. I think I've told this before, but this is where I needed to learn piano and how to play a piano in 1 month. I had a teacher that said, okay, I'll give it a try. But I was practicing all the time, and my husband finally said to me, honey, I cannot bear to hear that. You can't do that when I'm home. So I said, okay. And I was playing a music called the March of the Mighty, and he says to me, it sounds like the March of the Mighty slow. Anyway, so I went home in the afternoon to practice. And my blouse got tight. I'd been teaching school all morning, and so I took off the blouse, and I was practicing away. Finally, I decided the skirt was too tight. I took it off. I had a slip on. And so I'm there practicing, and suddenly the front door opens. And I'm thinking, it can't be my husband. He always comes in the garage. Who could it be? And I'm sitting there wondering what to do, and he didn't even ring the doorbell. And so I said to myself, well, I think it's Charles Hughes. He's come to fix that antique clock on the hall. And I think I told him the door would be open. I wasn't going to be here. And oh God, I'm trapped in the living room. So I get behind the door, grab up my clothes, stand over there as tight as I can behind the door. And so I thought, I better tell Charles I'm here, that I need him to go outside till I can get upstairs. And so I said, Charles? 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 And he said, no. It was my husband. He opens the door. I'm standing there holding these clothes. I never got through explaining that.
When I first came to the villages, we came in a rental car, and my sister Katie was driving, and it was Ruth and me, and we were going to take a look at this place. And so the first thing they do is introduce you to your realtor. And he wanted me to ride in his car, because he wanted to ask me some questions. And so the other two rode in the rent car. And he took us all around, showed us the property. We were very excited about it. And when we got back, we'd rented a house. And so we got back to the house, and we were getting ready to go out to dinner. And I had worn a kind of a long sleeve blouse with buttons down the side, but I used it as a little jacket so I wouldn't be cold on the plane. But anyway, so we got ready to go to dinner, and I couldn't find that. And I said, maybe I left that jacket thing in the car.
That's right. Yeah, your shirt.
It was a shirt.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then we realized we were on the parking lot where the Realtor building is. And so we went in, and they had a receptionist there, and she said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yes," and explained the story about not being able to find this. And I said, "Would you please call this Realtor and tell him that we're here? I just want to ask him if this garment is in his car." And she said, "Yes, I'll call." So she calls a call that goes out to every Realtor in the building. And it says, "Mr. Manelli, your customer is here, Mrs. Halter, and she's looking to know if you had her blouse in the back seat of your car." And he told this to every Realtor in that building. Of course, do you know what they said to him? Well, he finally came up to the office, and he said, "There you are." Yes, and he said, "I'm here, and my life is ruined." I don't know if that man is still here, but I've never forgotten it. And you know, we went out to the car, and it wasn't in the car, but in the meantime, his life was ruined. So my last story is my favorite. I've just told it so much that I just love it. We bought our first business computer. This was years ago. We paid $14,000 for it, and they produced our company produced a concept of something that would fit this program and fit our business. And I was determined to learn it. They had a helpline and a help office, quite a few people in there that knew what was going on. Well, anyway, they knew me well. I called that office all the time because I had to learn the whole thing, and determined. So when I called one day and I said, "Look, I've got a problem." And she says, "Tell me about it. I think I can help you." And I said, "Okay." I said, "I'll get an error message. And when it comes in, it's just rolling around." And I said, "When I punch a key to lighten my screen, it disappears. I never get to read that error message." And she said, "Let me ask you, what do you do before you turn it off?" I said, "Well, when it first goes off, I look at it good, but I don't see anything and nothing's happening." But anyway, she says, "Well, this time, instead of punching a key to lighten the screen, just move your mouth." I thought she said mouth. So I said, "Okay, I'll tell you how we come out." So I'm over there and I'm going, yeah, ooh. I have moved my mouth every way possible, and nothing has happened. So I said, "I have a question. Should my face be toward this screen or toward the keys?" She said in a real high voice, "Miss Doctor, I'll have to call you back."
That's classic.
When my folks were a young married couple, they were in. For those of you who don't know who Gina Lola Brigida was, she was kind of the sex pod in the early 50s and had a voluptuous figure and all that. And so they went with a bunch of friends to a movie. And it was a steamy bedroom scene, and the camera panned across the bedroom, and my mom recognized the furniture that she'd seen before, and she goes, "Oh, look, Lon, she has a chest just like mine."
I hope you enjoyed that as much as we did.
We sure did, and I know twins are double trouble because I've been there, done that.
Right,
If you
girl.
like our video today, please press that like and subscribe button and share it with all your friends. Until next time.
See you when you get here.
Thanks, kids.
You all want to say see you when you get here?
Yeah.
Ready?
See-
Say it again,
We'll
Linda.
see you when you get here.
Until next time.
We love you too.
Until next time.
See you when you get here, like that. Ready?
See you when-
Okay, say
see
it,
you
Linda.
As soon as I say, until next time, then you go. Ready? Until
See
next
you when you
time.
get here.
Okay, here we go.
Until next time.
See you when you get here.
That's good.
All right, now y'all help you up.
All right, and I want a hug.
I promised.
I'm gonna have some napkins right there. And then I'm gonna serve